Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well-informed. We sift through your articles, research, and notes to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight, maybe with surprising facts and just enough humor, hopefully, to keep you hooked. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the fascinating and, let's be honest, sometimes pretty overwhelming world of television tech.
It really can be.
Yeah, specifically, we're unpacking LG's 2025 TV lineup. So if you're eyeing a new display, or maybe just curious about what's pushing the boundaries, this deep dive is definitely for you.
And LG has always been, a really trusted name, especially when you talk about their OLED models. They're kind of famous for those.
Absolutely.
But the sources we looked at show they've truly invested in bolstering the entire rest of their lineup this year. I mean, there's an incredible variety of models, sizes, performance levels.
Right.
The challenge, of course, is just navigating all those specs and, the model numbers. QNED this, UA that.
Exactly. It often feels like wading through alphabet soup, doesn't it? So our mission today is to try and cut through some of that confusion. We're going to guide you through LG's 2025 TV offerings, from the most budget-friendly options all the way up to their flagship OLEDs.
Okay.
We really want you to understand what's new, what actually matters for you, and ultimately feel a bit more confident in your own decision-making process. Okay, let's dig in.
Let's do it.
So we're kicking things off at the entry level with LG's LED lineup for 2025, specifically the UA75 and UA77 models.
Right. These are basically your go-to options if budget is, king. They're 4K TVs. They support HDR10. That's your standard high dynamic range for, brighter, more colorful pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And they're capable of 4K gaming, though it's at a 60 hertz refresh rate. They do have VRR, variable refresh rate, which is good for gaming, helps smooth things out, avoid tearing.
Okay. Standard stuff, but good to have.
Yeah, but the immediate question for me is always, where did LG make the trade-offs to hit that really low price point?
Well, the sources point straight to the backlighting. These models feature direct LED backlighting.
Okay, explain that a bit.
So for those not deep in the tech weeds, just imagine a grid of LED lights directly behind the screen. It's a step down from what's called full-array local dimming, which you find in higher-end models.
Right, so the control isn't as precise.
Exactly. Which means you'll likely see what's called the halo effect, that sort of slight glow around bright objects when they're on a dark background. Like, think of a flashlight beam on a really dark wall.
Gotcha. So not the deepest blacks, precisely. This compromise means you won't get those super deep inky blacks or the pixel-level light control you'd find on more premium displays. But here's the kicker on value.
Yeah.
The 43-inch models start under $300, and you can even grab an 86-inch for just over $1,000.
Wow, okay, that's huge screen real estate for not a lot of money.
It really is. Massive screen, very approachable price.
So for you, the listener, what does this translate to? I mean, these sound perfect for maybe a college dorm room, right? Or a guest bedroom.
Exactly. Or any space that just needs a TV, but it won't be the centerpiece of your, high-end home theater setup.
Right. They offer fundamental functionality, a decent 4K picture for the cost. It's really prioritizing everyday use over that top-tier cinematic performance. Function over form, maybe?
Sort of, yeah. Function over finesse, perhaps.
Okay, moving up the ladder then, we hit the QNED lineup. QNED. The name itself sounds kind of sci-fi, and the sources explain it's LG's unique combination of quantum dot and nanocell technology.
Yeah, and what stands out here, what's interesting, is how this combination works together. The goal is richer, more accurate colors, and a significantly wider color gamut, basically. More shades of color.
How does that work?
Well, the quantum dot layer supercharges the color vibrancy and saturation, makes them pop. Then the nanocell layer acts kind of like a filter, refining those colors, making them purer, more precise.
Okay, so better color overall.
Definitely. And a nice bonus, they generally offer much better viewing angles. So, the picture looks good, even if you're sitting off to the side of the couch. That's a real win for larger living rooms or family rooms.
Good point. Okay, so within QNED, let's start with the QNED 82A. This is the entry point to this tech, right?
That's right.
This model, the sources say, provides a noticeable upgrade over those budget LEDs we just talked about, thanks to LG's dynamic QNED color and a feature called Dimming Pro, which is supposed to help improve contrast.
Yeah, it does help control light across different zones of the screen. And it is a capable TV, offers a clear jump in color and clarity from the UA series. You're looking at around $600 for a 55-inch, maybe $750 for a 65-inch.
Okay.
But it's still an edge-lit LED TV.
Ah, right. So the lights are on the sides, not directly behind the whole panel.
Exactly, which limits how deep the blacks can truly get compared to a full array system. So yes, it's an improvement, but maybe not revolutionary contrast.
Got it. An incremental step. Now, the QNED 85A, this is where things start to get really interesting, especially, I think, for gamers.
Oh yeah, definitely. This one's a bit pricier, starting around $850 for the 55-inch, but the improvements are genuinely significant.
What are we talking?
Okay, first up, it packs the upgraded Alpha 8 AI processor Gen 2. And that's not just a fancy name. LG is actually using AI here to analyze and optimize the content in real time.
So, smarter picture adjustments.
Right. Sharper images, more accurate colors. It can even enhance the sound profile based on what you're watching. But crucially, this is where we finally see 120 hertz refresh rates.
Okay, that's huge for gaming.
Massive leap. It makes everything incredibly fluid, drastically reduces motion blur and fast-paced action. It's a game changer for console and PC gaming.
And there's something about Wi-Fi, too.
Yes. Good catch. For those of you who stream a lot of 4K stuff or maybe use cloud gaming services.
Like GeForce Now or something.
Exactly. The QNED 85A and the higher models are Wi-Fi 6E enabled. That's a serious upgrade from the Wi-Fi 5 on the 82A.
So faster, more stable connection.
Potentially much faster, yeah. Think less buffering for those 4K movies and a smoother, more responsive cloud gaming experience where, like, every millisecond really counts. No more blaming the lag on your TV, maybe.
Huh? Okay, good to know. Now let's go to the top of the QNED lineup. The QNED 92A, or QNED 93 in the UK. Same TV, different name, basically. This one takes everything we just discussed and dials it up another notch.
Yeah, this is LG's flagship QNED. And it's the only QNED model in the 2025 lineup to feature two key things: full array, local dimming, and Dolby Vision support.
Okay, full array. That means the LEDs are behind the entire screen, right?
Yeah.
Lots of them.
Exactly. Hundreds, maybe even thousands, of tiny LEDs that can be individually brightened or dimmed. This gives the TV way more precise control over its light.
Which translates to?
Significantly darker blacks, much brighter highlights. Think about watching a space scene. The stars can be pinpoint bright against a truly black background. It brings it much closer to OLED performance in terms of contrast and dynamic range without actually being an OLED.
And Dolby Vision is the premium HDR format better than the standard HDR10.
Correct. More dynamic metadata, potentially better picture scene by scene.
It also stands out for audio, apparently.
Yeah, this is interesting. It's the only QNED TV that supports Dolby Atmos natively from the TV's own operating system, WebOS. Assuming, of course, your soundbar or speaker setup supports Atmos.
Right, whereas the QNED 85A only does pass-through?
Exactly. The 85A just sends the raw Atmos signal out to an external device to handle the processing. Having it built in on the 92A can simplify your setup a bit.
Okay, sizes and price.
It's available in 65, 75, and 85-inch sizes. Starts at $1,800 for the 65-inch.
$1,800.
Yeah.
Which brings up the question, at that price, how close are we getting to LG's own entry-level OLEDs?
That is the crucial question, isn't it? It's a really strong contender, especially if you maybe have concerns about OLED price or, the potential for burn-in and very specific static image scenarios. It offers similar visual punch in a lot of ways.
Okay, one more QNED, the QNED 9M. The M is the key here, right? Adds a wireless connect box.
Bingo. If you're thinking, hang on, didn't the really high-end OLED M series have that? You are absolutely right. This tech used to be exclusive to their ultra-premium OLEDs.
So bring it to QNED is a big deal.
It really signals LG's strong commitment to boosting their mini LED TVs. They're aiming to seriously compete with rivals like, Samsung, Sony, Hisense, TCL, who are all making big pushes in the mini LED space.
So the QNED 9M has similar picture specs to the 92A. Local dimming, Dolby Vision, Atmos.
Pretty much, yeah, same. Great picture tech. But the wireless connect box is the star. It means the only cord running physically to the TV is the power cord.
Everything else plugs into a separate box?
Yep. All your HDMI devices, consoles, streaming boxes, whatever, plug into that separate box, which then wirelessly beams the video and audio to the screen itself.
Okay, so for you, the listener, this means incredible convenience, right? Especially for wall mounting.
Oh, absolutely. No more wrestling with that tangled spaghetti monster of cables behind your perfectly mounted TV. It looks super clean.
Like magic.
Or just really smart engineering. The sources do note that while previous M-series OLEDs worked well, performance could occasionally dip depending on what was physically between the box and the TV. So, line of sight is still kind of your friend here.
Makes sense. Price on this one?
Starts at $1,800 for the 65-inch model. Same starting price as the non-wireless QNED 92A.
Interesting. So if cable clutter drives you crazy, It's basically a free upgrade to wireless.
Pretty much, yeah. Makes it a very compelling choice if you value that clean aesthetic.
All right, let's take a breath because that was a lot of letters and numbers. QNED, UAM, 82, 85, 92.
It's a mouthful.
The good news is the sources promise it gets maybe a little easier now that we're diving into the OLED TVs. The distinctions between the models tend to be a bit clearer.
Yeah, I think so too. And OLEDs, just by their nature, because each pixel makes its own light, they deliver that incredible contrast, perfect blacks. They're widely considered some of the best-looking TVs out there.
Okay, so we're looking at the B, C, G, and M series for OLEDs, kind of ascending in performance and price.
Exactly. Each one builds on the strengths of the one before it.
Let's start with the LG B5. This is the entry point to OLED, right?
That's your doorway to OLED bliss, yes.
And it comes in a really good range of sizes, 48, 55, 65, 77, and even 83 inches. That's pretty cool, letting you get into those larger OLED sizes without completely breaking the bank.
Yeah, the size range is great. For instance, that 83-inch B5 comes in around $4,500, and the 77-inch is about $3,000 now. Obviously not cheap.
Still a chunk of change.
For sure. But for an 83-inch OLED, that's actually highly competitive in the market. And what's really impressive here is that even this entry-level OLED is packed with features.
Like what?
You get Dolby Vision for that premium HDR, Dolby Atmos for immersive sound, and a 120 Hz variable refresh rate with 4 HDMI 2.1 ports.
4 2.1 ports.
Nice. Yeah. That combination makes it a genuinely great gaming TV. Handles the latest consoles, high-end PC gaming, no problem.
So even though there's competition in this sort of budget OLED tier from other brands,
Right.
for people who maybe value that familiar, trusted LG brand name with its proven track record, the B5 seems tough to beat. Offers a premium experience without that absolute top-tier flagship price.
I'd agree with that. It's a solid entry point.
Okay, next up, the LG C5. The C-Series often hits that sweet spot for a lot of people, right? A step up from the B5, but maybe not as expensive as the G-Series.
Exactly. It represents a moderate, but I think significant step up. The main improvements are really in brightness and the overall picture processing power.
How so?
Well, the LG C5 upgrades to the Alpha 9 Gen 8 processor. That's a noticeable jump from the Alpha 8 and the B series.
So, better AI, better optimization.
Yeah, even better image optimization, smarter object detection within the scene, just overall picture refinement. Plus, its refresh rate goes up to 144 Hz.
Ooh, 144 hertz. Even smoother for PC gaming especially.
Definitely. But maybe one of the biggest differences people will notice is the EVO panel. This includes brightness booster technology.
Brighter picture, more vibrant color.
Exactly. And it's not just about making the whole picture blindingly bright. It fundamentally transforms how HDR content looks. Those bright highlights, explosions, sunlight reflections, they just pop with incredible intensity and depth against the perfect blacks.
Okay, so for you, the viewer, if image quality is really your absolute top priority and you crave those brighter, more vibrant visuals,
What?
the C5 sounds like the smarter choice over the B5.
I would say so, yeah. If the budget allows, the C5 delivers a more impactful picture.
And it also comes in a unique size, right? A 42-inch?
Yes, that's unique in the 2025 OLED lineup, and it makes the 42-inch C5 an absolutely fantastic option for a high-end PC monitor.
Oh, interesting. Or like a smaller, really immersive gaming setup on a desk.
Perfect for that, where space might be limited, but you still want that top-tier visual fidelity that OLED provides.
Okay, now we get to the LG G5.
Yeah.
The G series is usually the flagship non-wireless model, and this one sounds pretty special based on the sources.
Oh yeah, the sources are definitely hyping this one up, calling it potentially one of the best TVs we'll see in 2025, period.
Wow. Last year's G4 was already really good, closing the gap with competitors like QD OLEDs, which sometimes had a brightness edge.
Right. And this year, LG seems to have taken their flagship G5 to entirely new heights. A key thing to consider here is the new 4-stack OLED panel technology.
4-stack, what does that mean?
LG claims this innovative panel architecture, basically how the OLED layers are constructed, enhances brightness by up to 45% compared to last year's G4.
45%, that's a huge jump.
It's a massive claim. This seems to be LG's big strategic move to tackle the main perceived weakness of traditional OLED, which was peak brightness, especially compared to some QD OLEDs or high-end mini LEDs.
So for you watching at home, this means an LG OLED that not only gives you those perfect deep blacks, but now boasts incredible peak brightness too.
That's the promise, making HDR content truly pop with blinding intensity. And it should help the picture hold up much better even in bright, sunlit living rooms. It's aiming for that truly no-compromise visual experience.
Okay, Does that have all the other stuff? Dolby Vision, Atmos, high refresh rate.
Absolutely. All the bells and whistles from the C5 are here, but it pushes gaming even further with variable refresh rates up to 165 Hz.
Whoa, 165 hertz on a TV.
Yeah, for competitive gamers, that's not just about smooth visuals, it's about that tiny fraction of a second advantage, maybe seeing an opponent sooner. The difference between winning and, well, not winning.
Huh. Fair enough. Sizes and price for the G5.
Comes in a wide range. 55, 65, 77, 83, and a massive 97 inches. Pricing starts around $2,500 for the 55-inch, but climbs steeply up to a whopping $25,000 for that 97-inch monster.
25 grand.
Yeah. Though it's worth noting, the sources clarify that the 97-inch model doesn't get that cutting-edge 4-stack panel, probably due to manufacturing complexity or cost at that scale.
Good caveat.
But something else that's really reassuring here, especially when you're spending that kind of money, LG backs the G5 with a 5-year warranty.
5 years. That's pretty good for a TV.
It really is. Offers incredible peace of mind knowing LG stands firmly behind its top-tier product for that long.
Definitely adds confidence to a big purchase. Okay, finally, the last OLED.
Yeah.
The LG M5. This uses the same amazing 4-stack panel as the G5, right?
Correct. Same incredible picture quality potential.
But the M means?
Wireless Connect box again. Just like the QNED 9M, but now paired with LG's absolute best OLED panel.
So you can hide that box, hide all the cables.
Tuck it away completely out of sight, along with your game consoles, streaming sticks, Blu-ray players, whatever, and you still get lossless audio and visual quality beamed wirelessly to the TV.
It really is the ultimate solution for clean cable management, especially for wall mounting. Just total aesthetic integration.
Absolutely. It offers that super clean, almost floating look.
It's currently listed for pre-order in 65, 77, 83, and 97-inch sizes. Any word on wireless stability from the sources?
Yeah, they confirmed that in their testing with previous M-series OLEDs, the wireless connection worked remarkably well overall. They did note very occasional minor dips in performance depending on, physical obstacles between the box and the TV.
So keeping that box in relatively clear line of sight is still probably a good idea.
Yeah, probably best practice, but generally it seems very reliable.
Wow, okay. That was a truly comprehensive tour through LG's 2025 TV lineup. Quite the range.
It really is.
It's clear they're pouring significant attention into their QNED section this year, seriously trying to bolster that mini LED offering against the competition.
Definitely feels like a bigger push there.
But their best work, maybe unsurprisingly, still seems to shine brightest in the OLED department, especially with that new G5 panel.
Agreed. OLED is still where LG really leads the pack, I think. But they've genuinely got a model and size now for just about every budget and setup imaginable, from the absolute basics with the UA series right up to the, bleeding edge with the G5 and M5.
Yeah.
And what really crystallizes from looking at the sources is how each distinct series offers very specific benefits. Whether you're primarily a gamer or a movie buff or just need a solid display for everyday watching. This deep dive should hopefully give you a much clearer sense of what each tier actually offers you.
So ultimately, for you, the listener, what's the big takeaway here? I guess it's that whether you're looking for a simple TV for a spare room, or a super high-performance display for intense gaming, or that ultimate home theater centerpiece, LG likely has a compelling option.
For sure.
The key really seems to be matching the features and the price tag to your actual needs.
Yeah.
And your unique viewing environment. Think about how much light is in your room.
Absolutely.
And, of course, your budget. Don't just chase the highest specs on the sheet if they don't really align with how you'll truly use the TV day to day.
Yeah, that immediately brings to mind a critical question for you to maybe ponder. Beyond just the tech specs and the price, how will this TV actually fit into your life? What specific features will genuinely enhance your personal viewing experience and bring you the most enjoyment long term?
That's a great question to ask yourself. We hope this deep dive has given you plenty to think about as you navigate the often confusing but exciting world of new TVs. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into LG's 2025 TV lineup. We really love exploring these complex topics with you. If you enjoyed this deep dive, maybe share it with a friend who's always asking for tech recommendations. And definitely subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into another fascinating topic. We'll catch you next time.